Hello everyone. So how many of you have heard of the recent movement, Stop Killing Games? Essentially the movement will make publishers no longer able to completely make a game unplayable after the game no longer receives support from the developers. In a sense, it's a way to make sure games can still be played long after their time and, help preserve them. Now, to the average person, this seems like a slam dunk. Yes, you should be able to play games that don't receive support from developers anymore. And that's part of the reason it received over 1 million signatures. Like I said, to normal people, this just seems like a net positive. Well, Pirate Software is not a normal person. We've covered him before when it came to some old DMs he had with a furry, and now for some reason he seems to think that this movement is a terrible idea. He's made videos on why it's bad, as well as streams and multiple tweets. Well, for today's video, we're going to go over Pirate Software's terrible stance on this whole initiative, how he impacted the movement, and how it all culminated in him leaving his job at the game studio he was working at. But before we do that, make sure to subscribe so that I can feed my starving family. So let's start with Pirate Software's original stance on this whole thing. Lucky for us, he made a long tweet going over everything. A very long tweet. What he says though is that his main issue with Stop Killing Games is that it's too broad and unspecific in its language and intentions. He says that leaving all games in a functional playable state is not feasible and would do nothing but prevent future game devs from making things because it adds a weight onto them. Basically, he summarizes that this initiative at its core is nothing but harmful. If you look at the comments of this tweet, people are very critical of this stance and his actions, but more so how he initially treated Ross of Accursed Farms, who is the guy behind Stop Killing Games. He went and called Ross a used car salesman over this whole thing, and actually later on pretended he was being nice to him.
It's greasy as shit, and because of that, I don't want to talk to him. I'd be willing to talk to like Louis Rossman or anybody else about this, because they'll actually have a conversation, but that shit shows me like the greasy used car salesman thing, where they're not actually trying to sell you a good product, they're just trying to sell you a product, and I hate people like that. I hate it, dude.
The biggest problem people have here, though, isn't just his stance on Stop Killing Games, it isn't just how he treated Ross, although that is a big part, but it's the fact that he's such a dickhead about the whole thing. He says that no one has refuted his arguments. Check his Twitter and YouTube comments and you'll see nothing but people arguing with him about how he's wrong. The top comments on YouTube are literally calling him out for lying and having the worst stance in this possible. And to make it worse, he LARPs like he's pro-consumer when he couldn't be farther from it. And the craziest part is that he hasn't really apologized for spreading bullshit about the whole thing and, doing multiple videos and streams basically calling both it and the creator behind it a scam. Funnily enough, Charlie of the Most Critical account actually talked to Pirate Software about why he hasn't done this, and instead of ever owning up for painting this initiative in the worst way possible, according to Charlie, he never backed down. And I can believe this because if you check his Twitter right now, he still is trying to make it out like he had zero negative impact on the whole thing. Fuck, he even uploaded a graph about the whole thing. A fucking graph. Funnily enough, actually, the person who made the graph that he's using made an updated version. This graph the person made is only documenting the signatures and how they were affected in regards to what Pirate Software himself has done. So this one definitely went against Pirate Software's narrative that he had no impact on the movement. To add on to this, someone actually made a compilation of Pirate Software glazing Josh Strife, as well as a bunch of stuff he said about Stop Killing Games. If you aren't convinced he lied about a whole bunch of stuff or has been shitty, I'll link it below. The main problem with this is that Pirate Software has zero ability to look at this situation from the consumer POV. Others can see from the dev POV as to why it sucks this initiative is blowing up, but at the same time, you shouldn't be able to sell a product to someone only to eventually make it, unusable by your own means. It's like if someone bought a movie and then later on Universal kicks your door in and takes the disc from you. You shouldn't be able to do that. But that's delving too much into the Stop Killing Games stuff, and we're mostly not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about Pirate Software. So after his conversation with Charlie, he still is having a meltdown on Twitter, but he did take a short break from tweeting about it for a few days. That is until he tweeted out this: I am no longer working at Off-Brand Games. People were attacking all the games we were publishing and trying to mass review bomb them. You can dislike the things I say, but this kind of behavior is unhinged. Now, if this is true, then it sucks. You can dislike Pirate Software, but attacking people he's tangentially related to is unfair. Only problem is this didn't happen. If you look at the Steam reviews of the games he's talking about, even the recent ones, it's mostly positives. The only game that could be considered review bombed, and I'm using that very lightly, is Pirate Software's own game. But to blame that entirely on this situation as well is unrealistic, as people are just kind of tired of him working on this game for the better part of, how long has it been? 8 years. As well as other game devs to come out and say that the actual code of this game is terrible.
Shortly after the launch, it was claimed the game was to be fully complete and released in early to mid-2018. A few months later, the goal was once again changed and now was targeting early access on Steam in December 2018. The game did land on Steam in December of 2018. In early access, this release contained a Chapter 1 that was complete, with a basically near fully done Chapter 2. Gee, I hope this doesn't become a trend with delays, failed promises, and shifts in goals.
To make a direct comparison, think of him like Yandere Dev, but without the Snapchat. So, he lied about Stop Killing Games, insulted the creator, doubled down on at least one of those things even after having private conversations with YouTubers as to why he's wrong, and is still spreading out on Twitter. And to make it all better, Pirate Software saw the initiative reach its 1 million signature goal, and when asked about it, this was his response.
So, I'm going to be honest with you. I hope that your initiative gets everything you asked for, but nothing you wanted. And I'll leave it there.
It's so fucking crazy how salty this guy is. All of the hate he's received over the situation is because of his own personal actions. He has no one to blame but himself. He actually tries to deflect all the criticism by saying that he did all of this and, insulted Ross and all that as an emotional response. He physically is incapable of just taking the L, and that's why people dislike him right now. And to make matters even worse, he has gone on stream to talk about everything people are saying about him and how much it bothers him.
County trying to say that our rescue is an animal horde. I've been called a pedophile, rapist, corporate plant, degenerate, narcissist, nepo baby, and many other names. And they attacked all the accomplishments over my life, despite physical evidence to prove to the contrary. And they also went after every job I ever held, trying to say that I never worked them, or if I did work them, that I never deserved them.
Now, I don't agree with these allegations. You'd have to be kind of insane to say these are true. But the problem is the people saying these just want to piss you off. And you have now gone on stream to tell them that, yes, this does piss you off. This is how you don't use the internet, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, we've essentially reached the end of this whole situation. This could have all been avoided or stopped at any point if Pirate Software just took the L, but whether he's too stubborn or whatever, he simply just cannot do that. And that's why people are shitting on him so hard. He took a situation that didn't really need a villain, that didn't really need someone to be the bad guy, and he somehow made himself the bad guy. What Stop Killing Games itself boils around is essentially consumers versus the people who are making products. And I definitely side with the consumers in this one. Fuck these people. If enough happens, I'll make a part 2, but for now, that's all that seems to have happened in this situation. Anyway, that's the end of the video. I don't know, join the Discord, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe, I guess would be pretty cool. Anyway, I don't know. Later.